What is going on, guys, and welcome to the final video of the day. And these parts of this story are from the BBC, and some of from videos that I've done in the past. But let's get into it. In this one is a troubling one. So Afghanistan panic and disbelief as thousands flee Taliban onslaught. The UN has urged Afghanistan's neighbours to keep their borders open as the number of civilians fleeing Taliban onslaught swells. Um, so what's happened since I did my last video, which was about women in Afghanistan being terrified. Terrified that they were going to be stoned to death, terrified that they were going to lose their jobs, terrified that they wouldn't be able to have an education anymore, terrified that they wouldn't have the freedoms that they've had for, the last good 2 decades almost 2 decades. I would say that they didn't have the freedoms at that, but I'd say for the last 15 years, there's been real progress in women's rights in Afghanistan. Um, and not just that, but also everyone's rights to live the lives they want. And the UN has urged Afghanistan's neighbors to keep the borders open. Um, Thousands of those internally displaced have been arriving in Kabul, seeking the capital as their last safe refuge. Food shortages are dire. The World Food Program said it warned of a humanitarian catastrophe. On Friday, the Taliban seized the country's second largest city, Kandahar, the latest province capital to fall. And a lot of provinces have fallen in the last couple of days. I don't know the exact numbers, but it is a lot. The Sun City of 600,000 people was once the Taliban stronghold. It's strategically important because it is international airport, agriculture, and industrial output. The insurgents also took the Lashkar Gah and now control about a third of Afghanistan's provincial capitals. The advance comes as US and other foreign troops withdraw after 20 years of military operations. More than 1,000 civilians were killed in Afghanistan in the past month alone, according to the UN. Now, this is the point I want to get into. US has been planning to withdraw from Afghanistan for a number of years now. Um, and they made a deal with Taliban, and that's their right to withdraw. They don't have an obligation to fight. They don't have an obligation to be there. But I feel like they did have an obligation to leave the Afghanistani government and the Afghan Defense Security Forces in a position to hold their own country. And it's been 3 years since this decision was made, and the Afghan Defense Security Forces and the Afghan government do not have the personnel, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the ammunition, resources to defend their nation, and it seems weird to me. I would have thought that this would be something that you would do. You would give every form of help and assistance to ensure that once you leave, that the nation and country that you have, changed over the last 20 years was in a better position. And it doesn't seem that that is the case. It doesn't seem that that has happened. It seems like they have no resources, and there should have been some sort of arrangement where they stockpiled stuff, where stuff was, there for them, and there isn't. The Taliban secured on most of the borders and intercepting important supplies. So that is not entering Afghanistan. That is not going to the Afghan security force. That is not going to government. Whether it's money, weapons, supplies, it's not getting to them. And America has not helped with this. There is, you don't see any form of counter attack. There isn't. There's no retaliation. There's no form of defense. It's like they have nothing. It's like they're on, the last supply of oxygen, and it's sad. Let's continue. Sarah Karimi, a Afghan filmmaker in Afghanistan, sorry, in Kabul, told the BBC it felt like the world had turned its back on Afghanistan and she feared a return to the dark times. I don't think that's unfair to say after the statements I've just made. Life under the Taliban in 1990 saw women forced to wear the all-covering burqa, education restricted for girls over 10, and brutal punishments brought in, including public executions. I am in danger, but anymore. I don't anymore think about myself, Miss Karimi said. I think about our country. I think about our generation, that we did a lot to bring these changes. I think about young girls. These are thousands of beautiful, young, talented women in this country. Many of those seeking safety in Kabul have been sleeping on the streets. About 72,000 children are among those fleeing to the capital in recent days, according to Save the Children. We have no money to buy bread or get some medicine for my child. Asadullah, a 35-year-old street vendor who fled northern Kunduz province after the Taliban set fire to his home, told the BBC. All our home and our belongings caught fire, so we came to Kabul and prayed to God to help us, said Asadullah, who is now with his family in Kabul. Makeshift camps are being established on scrubland on the outskirts of the capital, while many others have reported being sleeping in abandoned warehouses. Speaking to BBC shortly before Kandahar fell, Ashtana Durrani, executive director of education NGO that works with Afghan girls, said she was scared for her life because of her vocal role in advocating for women's education. And this is reality. People are scared for their lives. They are, and people are being killed. Journalists are dying. Not just Afghan people, but foreign journalists are being killed. People who work with the government are being killed. People who work for these organizations are being killed if they are found. It's not just one people. The girls who we work with have already fled, she said. I don't know where the students are, and I'm personally scared about their life. What if they're married to a Taliban fighter? What will their life be like? We won't go over the basics. We'll go into the next part of the topic. US able to move thousands of evacuees per day. President spokesman Josh Kirby said that US is able to move thousands of evacuees out of the country each day. Yes, but came after he was asked about the plan to rescue interpreters and other Afghans who worked for the US government. But that's just airlift capacity. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to end up with that every day, he said from Pentagon in Virginia. Going to depend on the processing in and how that goes, he said. You know, it's bad all around. President Ashraf Ghani has ruled out the idea of resigning. Multiple sources have told the MC Secunda Karamani in Afghanistan. Secunda reports that the Taliban strategy now appears to be one of isolation. Afghanistan's central leadership in Kabul, and either making a military push into the city or waiting for international pressure on Ghani to step down. I don't see how there's going to be international pressure. Like, there's no pressure that's going to make him step down, because him stepping down means pain and suffering for the entire country, and him not stepping down means pain and suffering for the entire country. So no matter what he does, the situation is going to be exactly the same. So the only thing he can do is hold out and hope that somebody, maybe somewhere, decides to support them, which doesn't look like it's going to happen. Meanwhile, the key Taliban opponent who surrendered this week has been rallying other warlords to capitulate. This is what Taliban mean by power sharing, Secunda says, about the deals being made between Taliban and independent warlords, rather than with the nationally backed central government. Since the Moscow conference in 2019, I got the sense that they're happy to make deals with power brokers like Ismail Khan, says Secunda, referring to the captured anti-Taliban figure. That means they won't face constant war, and they can stay it's not monopoly rule. So in photos, these images from the show the country is being affected by the advance, and the militants are continuing their rapid defensive. These are more territory, as I have stated, and this is kind of it. This is the situation. And I see in US State Department official has deleted a tweet expressing sympathy for the Afghanistan women. Woke up with a heavy heart thinking about the Afghan women and girls I worked with during my time in Kabul, wrote Deputy Assistant Secretary for European and Eurasia Affairs Molly Montgomery. They were beneficiaries of many of the gains we made, and now they stand to lose everything, she added. We empowered them to lead, and now we are powerless to protect them. A spokeswoman later told Fox News that she deleted the tweet on her own volition, which I don't believe for a second. There was some pressure for her to do that because it looks bad. Yep, you know, it is unfair to say Afghanistan's need to fight against Taliban militants by themselves. Former US National Security Advisor General H.I. McMaster has said the militants are enemies of all civilization, of all humanity, told the BBC's Yalda Hakim on Thursday. And I think that's the fair statement. I think that's where it lies. The position that they've been left in when there was 3 years of preparation is unacceptable and unfair. But we'll have this final statement and then I'll do my last 2 cents and then part of what the British government has said. Afghanistan is spinning out of control, UF chief has said. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned on Friday, calling for an immediate halt to the Taliban offensive. The message from the international community for those on the warpath must be clear. Seizing power for a military force is a losing proposition, he told reporters. That can only be lead to prolonged civil war or to the complete isolation of Afghanistan. Now we have the final statement from the UK, from Boris Johnson. Oh, God, I dread to think how bad this is going to be. Boris Johnson defends UK role amidst evacuation. Boris Johnson has said the UK can be extremely proud of its role in Afghanistan despite the situation in the country having deteriorated. The UK will evacuate the vast bulk of its emissary staff in the coming days as Taliban continues to advance. Prime Minister said there was no military solution after an emergency Cobra meeting on Friday afternoon. Which basically means is we don't care. We won't even give you weapons and ammunition to support yourselves. That's what that basically means is even if you fight it yourselves, we aren't going to give you the means to fight it yourselves. On Thursday, the UK said it would send 600 troops to help evacuate British nationals. Yeah, okay. Thousands of civilians have fled the Afghan onslaught, Taliban onslaught, heading for the capital Kabul. And we basically have stuff that we've gone over, you know. Mr. Johnson has insisted there was no military solution following the gains made by Taliban in recent days, said that a team of Home Office officials would be sent to step up efforts to relocate Afghans who work for British forces in the country. This statement that the UK can be really proud is nothing to be proud of. The state we have left Afghanistan in situation now is proof that we have nothing to be proud of. We failed. It's a complete failure of the system. We failed. America failed. We had 3 years to deal with this situation. 3 years to prepare them. 3 years to reinforce them. 3 years to give them the tools and means necessary to defend themselves. And we didn't. And now this is the result. And millions will suffer. And that's the reality. Let me know what you think down below. Your opinions. My 2 cents is that both the UK and USA have the right to evacuate. However, they had 3 years to do it and should have done better in order to prepare the nation for the day that happened, to prepare the nation for when that event would happen, and to ensure that the Afghan people, the Afghan government, the Afghan soldiers, defense security forces had the tools, skills, and resources required in order to be self sufficient, as you would expect to happen, which is not the case. And I find it deeply upsetting in the sense that I'm ashamed that we as a nation would do that to another country, that we would leave them in that position, that we wouldn't have done more. If it was us, we would have hoped that someone would have done more. And that's not what happened. So yeah, please tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.